So you can tell the Duster is back in the garage. Actually, it's never been in this garage until this is the first time it's been in this garage. Like the whole car. And it's exciting because what's going to happen is, if you follow the page at all, the channel, whatever you want to call this disaster, is that we're going to have somebody dustless blast this car. At least that's the plan. I got quotes. We had the little video here a week or so ago about the estimates, and we could probably get this whole car down to nice, clean, white metal for under $1,000, give or take. So what I really want to do, and I think I need to do, is get this car prepared for that. If you shot it right now as it is, there's going to be a lot of areas that are going to be missing that treatment. I'm almost kind of looking at this as if it's going to get dipped, but we're blasting it. So there's a lot of stuff that the gun needs to reach, and it's not able to reach all of it. For instance, this frame rail right here will be good down through here. We can get it cleaned up really good, and this is going to have to get replaced. So I really want to get that cleaned up. Same thing over here, but on this side, we have the original trunk floor sheet metal covering the entire thing here, much like you see here. I need to get the rest of that out, peel that lip off there, and be ready and exposed, ready to blast all this crap off of here. What is that in there? I also need to trim up what's left of some of this here. I want to leave this cross rail piece that holds really the frame rails together back here. That needs to stay intact, so I need to peel the metal that was from the trunk or the tail panel off of that and kind of decipher what needs to stay or go down here. There is a piece that kind of grafts into the corner here as well as down there, and I think it could be duplicated real easy, so I'll have to make a template of it if that ends up coming off. It might just be easier to make a new one anyways, and then we'll just have this back section cleared out. So you can see back here it's disconnected from the quarter panel. It's all still structurally sound that way. A lot of that relies on the roof structure, the wheel well, and then this back area, this splice between the front floor pan and the rear trunk floor pan. So the structure is in good shape there. We also have some kind of cobbled in subframe connectors somebody put in years and years ago. They do the job right now though. They keep the car rigid where there is something missing, like the floor pans. So we're really relying on that right now. They'll probably eventually come out, maybe have some better ones put in. Now if we start going down the side of the car, we want to take off this lower section, at least. Obviously there's Bondo here. It's been pushed, it's cracked, it's contaminated, it's garbage. This piece broke off when I first bought the car. I knew it was there. I mean, you can see it. It's very obvious. It's pretty much, yeah, they use fiberglass. I mean, if you're gonna fix it that way, fix it strong. That's why it came off so difficult. This is a common rust area. A lot of the water pools down here, whether they have the seam sealer patched up there enough or whatever, it just kind of sets in there, or it comes in from the backside through the window top and sets there and just rusts, and the rust sets there and everything just sets there. So part of the jam here is also gone. I do have, I think, from our parts car from over a year ago, I think I saved this section. If not, it's just a matter of forming some sheet metal and rebuilding this. But I do want to take the quarter panel off here because it always bubbles up here. This is where your rocker panel and then the quarter panel, they butt together. And obviously, like I said, the water gets behind there and it pushes out and gives you all kinds of damage that you really don't want to keep chasing later. So we'll try to get all this off there and just have this hull of the car available for cleaning up. When it comes to the front area of the car, there's not a whole lot that needs to be done. I will go ahead and take these door hinges off because one of them is completely just plastered. It needs to be thrown away. It's junk. There's no fixing it. Even with new bushings, it just won't happen. So those will come off in this project. And you know, as you see from previous videos, we have taken the dash, all the bracketry out, all the wiring, engine, K-frame, suspension. It's all gone. It's all out. Probably the only thing I will do is take these clips out for the fender mounting points, take these hinges off, and we're pretty much ready to just get this blasted out. This is about as naked as you can get it. And up here, it's just a matter they need to blast it. There's nothing really attached at this point anymore other than like what I just listed there. And we might go ahead and take these off. They are obviously junk. If you're wondering how many cutting wheels exactly that took to go from here to the end of that, 1. Technically, you can go and just cut it straight since it's out now, but for the sake of what I was doing, you kind of see how. Now, if you look here, here's what we got. This is what causes all this rust. See all this mud? Leaves, which will turn into that mud. That's probably, these used to be leaves, who knows? And then you can see it kind of up here too. It all accumulates in there and causes your issue. I had a car one time where this part looked fine, but when I had the panels out on the interior and stuck my hand down here, there was a little bit of a slot here. You could feel that it had rotted this rocker panel out, like Cookie Monster taking a bite out of it. So here, this one looks good. It looks like there's a rust hole right here, so we'll have to patch that in. But that's a good thing about the blasting that we're going to do. It'll take that all away. It might even make that hole bigger. More likely it will. And you get back to clean metal, workable metal, and then you can just patch it from there. And when I say patch, I mean a good patch. If you hear me say patch, unless I say otherwise, it means doing it right type of a patch. A hose gun, a light bulb socket, a bolt. Here's what's left of our side marker wiring retainer. I'll keep that, it's actually intact. So this is the drop off, and I'll show you the new one if you're not familiar with how these cars are constructed. So right here, this will replace this one. You can see it's got the little strengthening ribs right here, here, here in the hole. Well, they are duplicated in this AMD right-hand trunk floor extension drop down. This will be part of your floor up here for the trunk, and this is obviously the drop down or the drop off. People like to call them different things, which will ultimately mount and meet with the outer quarter panel. And they get the same problem. They got dirt, a lot of times from the trunk leaking or people throwing stuff inside. And you get down in here like, you know, the nails and stuff like a marble. And so really, I've already got the top part, the floor section of this one cut out, and it's garbage. It's garbage here, it's garbage there, it's garbage everywhere.
Get Taser Pulse Plus today and save 15% at Taser.com and enter
Now the only part holding it at this point is the cross rail piece that I was talking about. There's little extensions back here. There's a little flap that folds down, a flange behind it that's holding it right there. guess a little bit of that piece I showed you on the new one. All right, now this little area right here with the bracing is kind of complex because it's like an intersection of a lot of areas. It's your quarter panel, your trunk floor, your cross beam, all that kind of stuff. So it's all kind of intertwined, and you gotta find out what breaks up what. This piece underneath here, this is your cross rail. See, this is for your bumper. There's a bracket that kind of U-shapes out, and that'll be your bumper. There's your frame rail, okay? Right here is a seam. That's where this piece ends, okay? Right here, and you have like this extension of this right here, and it kind of folds around, and that's what kind of the outside of your quarter panel butts up against underneath here. Like I said, I want to keep this like boxed in wedge shaped deal here, so I'll eventually just kind of cut it out and trying to trim all this rotted crap away, like all this, okay? Now, what if I just want to release it right now? Well, likely I'll end up making this piece down here. I don't know if I'll be able to save this one. I'll take a quick gander at it. It's like a piece by itself. And what you could do, and what I'm thinking I'll have to just cut it off and just release it, because if I try to trim it away carefully from this, it's going to cut this piece I want to save up kind of bad. So I'll probably just break it away from this without damaging the actual cross rail. But in order to make as few cuts as possible, you just kind of have to study it for a second. It folds under, comes up, and then folds out. So it kind of goes that way, down, and under. That's where this under part would be. Okay? And then it whips around here. So basically where the edge of the extension or the floor drop off would be. Or you could just peel it out like this. That's how weak some of it is. There's a spot weld that just broke. And then you can survey it and make sure you're not weakening this too much. It is flexing it some. I can fold that down. It's pretty much destroyed anyways. If you could take a template, make a template from it now, that's a great time to do it. Get the overlap, get the edges that bend. Just take a piece of maybe thick construction paper and make it. Get some measurements if you can't fit it in there, and just make your piece from that. Okay, so I took various measurements. There's the lip that kind of flanges up here to the top before I bent it. The back side of where it welds into here with some spot welds. The fold down back here is about a 3/4 deep that way. This one comes out about 5/8 of an inch. And then this is where I accidentally cut it here. I didn't accidentally, just where I was trying to split something else. But I took this into account, measured the flanges, and this is what I got, okay? Now it's kind of rough sand, so what we want to do is we'll just trim this out. And if we get it right, on this car in particular, you can reverse this one to that side over there. It'll be symmetrical. You'll just turn it around and bend the piece the opposite direction. So kind of hitting two birds, one stone here by doing this. And I had to do some adjustments here, realizing it was at an angle. So I start there, come up to there, get our piece kind of angled in, and you just work off the flat. This piece right here is what's up here. And we'll just get a similar gauge metal, and we won't have to go buy a piece if they even make this one. I know they make this one up here, and I'll have to tell you about that one. I've had some trouble getting that one. They make one side but not the other. Can't remember which. But I'm having trouble getting the side from the supplier on that one. So here's the piece as it sits. We'll want to fold it up the way it would be here. At least the way it should be, I should say, other than deformed like this. Fold this edge out. Simple bends. Fold that one down, forward. And this one will kind of flange back. We can even take our flanger and we can trim right there and then put the little ridge in it so that it fits in behind there nicely. So we'll just fold that back kind of like that. So this is how it should kind of fall, really close. If anything, we could trim down through here, but what we'll do, we'll get all this other stuff in when we start rebuilding it. We might leave this part till last if it's possible, and then we can kind of fine fit the template. I'm kind of thinking this might need to go a little bit more of a slant here. It looks like it does there, and actually I'll just go ahead and do it now. Just bring that down. Just a guesstimate. Do it like that, to where it would fit in this perimeter here, much like that. Okay, so then you get this slant going. Everything else looks like it fits pretty good. So that'll be our template. This will be for the right side, that's why I got an R on there, and if you flip it around, you got L. That'll cover the other side. All right, so I've proceeded to tear some more of the old remaining trunk floor off of the frame rail here. I started dusting this piece here as just slicing it right down the middle, kind of filleting it, you know, so you could bend this up. And a couple of my tools to wreck all this out. Like I said, you could use the spot weld driller if you prefer that. If you get a good one, then by all means. Here's one of your spot welds here, and if you get around the back side of it here, and then proceed you can go that way. Yes, it takes a little longer sometimes, but in some cases, especially back this way where I tore all this out a lot easier, the rot towards the back of the car always gets a little worse because of gravity, so it always goes back, and then all your water and stuff like that. Now here, at some places, this one's about ready to snap on its own, and these you probably have to dig them out. But one way to do this, instead of just fighting it from all of these 4 angles, I usually take a cutting wheel and slice it up a little bit, and I'll show you over here how I did some of that. From about here back, I had some. I went ahead and did that way, and that was by slicing little sections. And if you look over here, this is what the back edge of that trunk floor, that's where it laps over top of this piece here that goes over the hump. And I just do little slotted cuts, I guess you could say, but I don't go all the way through because you don't want to cut through this. You might leave a little groove in it, but that's no big deal. But you can cut it, and I was able to remove this one, and just kind of pick at it there. I had this whole strip here just peeled right out. So it is a little time consuming doing it that way. If you don't have luck with the spot weld driller, then this is kind of what I do. And anything left that's left over, like all the residue from the spot welds on here, the little overhangs, you can go through with a buffing wheel on your grinder and just smooth it all out, and then, you know, kind of block it all in that way. So I'm going to continue working on mainly that over there, and rip the rest of that out, and I'll work on this back edge. We'll have to do this back around here, much like we did the other side, just breaking the rest of that out cleanly, and then we'll take that quarter panel out on that side and just have a big time with it. But if you kind of stand back and look at this project right now, it is kind of disappearing, but you see the basic structure of the 2 frame rails, the cross rail and then the spring perches, and suspension wise, that's all you really need. And then, you know, when you build your body up, it gives it even more strength. So we've got it pretty much under control here. This spot weld, actually, I just took a wrecking bar and just clicked it loose like that. So you can do the slot method here, just cut little notches in it, I guess you should say, as opposed to slots. That doesn't really make any sense, but and then just peel it out in little sections and grind it away. Down here, this piece was what was underneath here. There is a provision, a space here where all this mud accumulated, and really you want that to remain clean. And I know it's kind of hard to do that over time, especially if the car sets outside, but that's why they last longer in dry, dustier climates, because they don't collect dirt and get wet and rot. All right, so after a couple hours of work, I have most of this kind of finished out. It's in ready for blast for the most part. Got the rest of the sheet metal, the lap that went over top of this panel here. It was a little difficult from about here to that corner, and from about this part of the frame rail back. The rest of it peeled off pretty good using my little, slash cut method, and then either hammering or buzzing it away. So once I got all that cleared out, oh, and even off the side of the wheel wells here, and the wheel wells need some work here. They need kind of rebuilding. So I left as much of this, even though it's rusty and kind of broke, I left it intact in the shape that it was in, so that I could have a good template to make, and so I can rebuild that with some new sheet metal. Both sides, this one being a little bit worse than that side over there, but we're good. Okay, so once I got all the excessive sheet metal, the old layering off here, I just went through where all the spot welds left a little jagged edge or some little sheet metal was still remaining, and I went through with our flappy wheel on the 4.5 inch grinder and just smoothed it all out. And yeah, you just get it down to where sometimes it'll turn blue. That means it's getting real thin, it's getting hot, and it'll flake off. You can just stop there. Okay. Now some of this will need a little bit of repair. Some of these, there's a little bit of rot right here. Actually, it's more of the spot weld, probably where it split apart. But I can refill that with some metal there, just with a welder. You can do a lot of that. And later this will get replaced right here, but that'll be after it gets blasted and primed. But I was able to lay the AMD trunk floor in here, the new one, and it fits beautiful. It sits nice and flush. Sits perfectly over this lip here, has a little flange on it, clicks right into these wheel well corners, just fits right in there really good. And the little plug holes that you'll have in the body here, they fit right over top the center of the frame rail, so that's cool. It's almost like that's a jig type thing, a fixture. And so from there, we're gonna go around to the sides. And we need to start cleaning up the wheel lip, part of the wheel well assembly here. That's the wheel well, at least the half, the shell that connects on this side. You'll see the seam up in the very middle, but we need to remove what's left of the quarter panel lip on here. So I took my cutting wheel and grinder and just put cuts every couple, maybe 2.5, 3 inches up through here, and up where it it welds, sorry, where it spot welds to this here, I just went enough to go through the thickness of the sheet metal. So under a 1/16 of an inch, I would say. You just let it kind of sink in there just a little bit. You don't want to cut all the way through it. If you do, you have to weld it all back, and sometimes that might happen anyways. So I'm about ready to finish cleaning up all this lip that we just discussed. I've done a test fit, which I will try to show you later, of all the panels for the trunk for itself, the drop-offs, and then the tail panel. And I was amazed at how well everything just kind of almost clicked together. I mean, everything, all the flanges, they all lined up just right. I had to make 2 little notches in the drop-offs, but that's to be expected. And then, once I did that, they just fell right into place. So with that, I was kind of debating on quarter panels. For the past 20 years or so, you can get some from Sherman and Associates, and it comes up to, I think, just where this bend is, where this sweep, this black part you see, and it kind of comes across here and gets to the top of this peak on this panel here, and it's really just the skin. This is facing. It doesn't have the wrap around here, the wrap around there, down there, and so, and it doesn't even have the complete wrap to the bottom of the rocker panel, the lip, drain viaducts in it. So you don't have that, and with the way this is all fitting up really nice, although at quite a bit of an excessive expenditure, probably go ahead and do the full quarter panels from AMD. Those are more of a factory style. The way these were put on originally, your seam is up here where it mounts to the roof. It's not down here, it's up here. And on non-vinyl top cars, which I believe this was a non-vinyl top car originally, it's a very bare bones type of car, it would have had a lead seam right here, okay? Vinyl top cars, they usually put the plastic body filler in under there, then they put the vinyl top over because it tended to hide it a little bit better. But cars like this, it was originally like just a solid top, no vinyl, you'd have lead, okay? So we'll have to get it up in there. Most of this will be gone. So I'm gonna at least take this side and go ahead and just cut it off or get it within reason to where we just have to trim it off, much like we're doing everything else, and see what we're dealing with. I know back here, the trunk lip, you don't get the entire trunk lip, particularly where the weather strip rail, that piece, and the little gutter, so to speak, the lower part. Now, I think this AMD version, you get the panel back here, and it has a little bit of the lip under, and it stops. That's where you have to put the two together. So you have to be kind of smart and think ahead, see how the panels are made there so that you don't hack up the part that you need. Although ours is kind of rotten down here at the bottom, I do have replacements so we can kind of splice that all together and make a new rail. But outside of that, I think I'm just going to go ahead and have some fun and cut all this off up here. If anything, it's for your viewing pleasure to see a car get this far cut apart and then ultimately welded back together like new. Just peeling this edge off of this door jamb where the quarter panel used to wrap around here, and we can see I have it just peeled out, and I'm just going to go through here, slice it out, and just whittle away at it. It should take me probably 25 minutes from right now. And there's areas right here where the lip of the quarter panel goes up and over, here along the door jamb. I think we need to do a little bit more there. We've done most of the wheel well arch, and there's a couple spots on the very bottom of the rocker panel down here where it goes in and then flanges alongside the metal, the length of the car down there. There are just some little odd spots there that need to be taken care of. If we move over here a little bit, we still need to trim out what's behind this drip rail and go up a little further and bust up the spot welds, and there's a lead seam there where they integrate the quarter panel into the roof, so that needs to be torn away, but carefully. And then the lip around here that mounts it to this actual brace right here, and a lot of that's going to go away. The rail here where my fingernail would be, that will remain at least in the end of the whole project. I don't think I'll have to tear it off. It'll just hang out there by itself. but we need to tear off what's left of the quarter panel on the top of that. So it's really tedious type of work that needs to be done, and then a lot of this needs to be duplicated on the other side. The wheel well on that side I think is cleaned up for the most part, and yes, the heater just went off. And we'll just have to work our way through that. To me, this is really the most difficult part, the most, like I said, tedious, and kind of the most thorough part that you really have to do to have it ready to put the new panels on, but ultimately to get all this blasted or dipped or whatever it is you're planning on doing if it's this rusty overall. So there's a little bit of organization that's been going on. This is a Saturday afternoon. This morning I spent a few hours cleaning up back here, and I don't know if you've noticed in some of my more recent videos, it's been really getting piled up back here. So I've just kind of done some moving around, threw some stuff away that just junk really, but most of the car that will replace what was in there on that one is stacked up right here. So we got the floor pan, the trunk pan, the drop-offs back in there, the tail panel, the gas tank retainer for the trunk floor down in there, that kind of stuff, and just got some general organization so I get back to my parts bins if I need it. And then we also got this one about a week ago. That's our driver's side full AMD quarter panel. Okay, and what is so great about these is the fact that they, although they are not taken from the original factory dies that Chrysler used, because those was probably destroyed back in the late 70s or early 80s when they went bankrupt and they needed whatever money they could, was they've been kind of meticulously reduplicated. So this flange here that goes down where the window sets up against it is there, back to where it needs to. The flange that wraps around here, which is like the door jamb, and then the little extension that goes off to the rocker panel. Here's your flange here with the drain hole provisions in it. So it's the complete thing. And although in some applications they're not perfect, you always have to massage them, but so did a lot of the factory cars. You even get all this back here where it wraps around. It has the recess for the tail panel to set in, so that it can all be either leaded or fiberglassed in, however you prefer to do that. And it has the flange all the way around for the trunk. And ultimately, right up here where the window frame is, the window channel, which is kind of what all this stuff is. So that's kind of what you're looking at. You can compare it to the original car parts and you'll see that it's very, very good. Here's this piece here. This is where it splits and breaks from this panel here, and it ends here. Okay, that's pretty much what you're looking at when you're looking at this end right here, this break. Okay, so they're trying to duplicate it best they can. As of, what is this? This is January 2022. Let's say you're watching this video in the future. As of right now, they only had 3 of these particular quarter panels in stock. I panicked and bought one. Hopefully they don't completely stop making these with the situations in China and the sheet metal and blah, 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 this kind of stuff, because this stuff is stamped over there. That's just the truth of it. And so hopefully they don't, this isn't the last of them forever or anything. Hopefully they're not scaring us with that, but they're kind of moving on to other projects. So I don't know really what to tell you on that one. I went ahead and bought that one. They didn't show a shortage on the passenger side, but I did get that one ordered the other day. Hopefully in the next week that'll be there here, and we should have all of our new sheet metal rebuild. I mean, let's be honest, rebuild this car, because there's not much left of it. But I will say, from my perspective, if you're curious, is this is oddly satisfying to know that this much new sheet metal is going to go back into it. It's going to be all brand new. There is work to be done to get it to work right. If you watch shows like Graveyard Cars, you see how they do it, and it's actually very satisfying to watch the work being done that way. So the more you do things right, there's a certain satisfaction, is all I gotta say,
seeing it all go together, especially if you get it all cleaned up and you get everything fixed. Once it goes back together, it's going to go together pretty quick. And you keep your assembly techniques and all your workmanship in order. It should come out to be a really nice vehicle, and don't be scared to take something down this far and then put it back, especially when they have the panels available. Trunk, floor, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's all there. It's all really good quality. Obviously, it's gonna need work anyways. Even if you've taken the old stuff and trying to make it work, you're gonna have to do a bunch of body work. What if you have to do something on something new a little bit? You know, give and take a little bit, but that's not too bad. So let's get on getting the rest of this thing cleaned up and try and get closer to having it ready for blast. Okay, now since I don't really feel like being down there in the ground right now trying to fix any of this, I'll do it in a bit. But one thing that's kind of bugging me is how this whole situation works out right here. So you can see this lip, it hangs over, and you can see the rust underneath it. This is where the quarter panel ends, okay? That's the sum of that. It comes up, it kind of disappears in here, but actually this panel sets over top of it, okay? This is pretty common. I had a Camaro that we had to do this piece with, and you had to peel everything out, and this would go on top of that. So it probably tells you this went on later, but while you can get to that somewhat underneath here, we need to take and remove this whole band here, this white band, up to right here. And the reason right there is if I feel up inside there, can't really see it that well, but that's where you feel the flange of one panel and the other starting to go together. This is just separating right below it. So if I'm going to cut, it won't cut into something that doesn't need cut. So I can cut it here, and ultimately this whole lip where my finger's running is going to be gone. You can see where it butts together there. You can see where the screws come through for the reveal molding. So we don't have to worry about taking this out, wasting time trying to get all that out, because we can just cut this piece out and then trim the rest of it away like we have with the rest of this car. So when you get down in here though, it gets a little complex. Probably what I'll do, since this is so rotted right here, we do need to make some measurements where some of the action starts to happen, where this is, where the curve is, where this edge still happens to exist. That is original. It's not been cut right there, okay? It's rotted away there, and this is where the tail panel wraps up on top of that. Actually, let me get my bearing here, because I think, okay, this is the original here. This is part of that, okay? Now I have a piece that we cut off the parts car about a year ago, and you can kind of figure how some of the construction is on that. Here's this lip here, it kind of bends around there, and it's all part of that. It's all one stamped piece. Here's the edge of that. So find your breaks, figure out what you want to save and not save, and you cut away what you don't want to save first, and then just work your way up into what you do need. So takes a little bit of concentration, make sure you're doing it right, a little bit of focus, and you can cut away what you just absolutely don't need here, and then work your way in. Okay, now like I said, this just leaves this little strip that won't fight you with other bends and other structural reinforcements. If you go to start peeling this away, you do your cuts like we've been doing, or use your spot weld drill, and you can can find, there's one here, you know, about every 2 inches of where they fall. And then you can just peel it away, get down in these intersections, determine what needs to stay, what needs to go, and try to take the piece out as is. Now, the clips that were in here were pretty rotted, and the screws that held them were pretty rotted, so I'm not trying to salvage any of that. I'll just buy new ones. If you can ever save them, they're in good shape, take them out first, and then make that cut. But in this case, since this car is so rusty, those are no different. So, up here, yeah, that's right up underneath where the roof and the quarter panel bond together. So we'll be careful about that. And we'll just try to figure out what we want to cut away next here. I might kind of break into this. I don't know. I'm just playing it all by ear. All right, so I've chipped away, as you probably saw in the last one, at what was here. We'll hammer and dolly this flat from any distortion later on, you know, after the fact. And this will need to be peeled away where the X's are. There's a little mystery area. This is where this panel has lapped up over top of everything. It's lapped up over top of this. It's lapped up over top of the piece here, and so on. So you have to determine where it splits, and it is helpful with the new AMD panel. Over here, if you look at it, here is where the window corner is, and then it's just continuously flat till about here. This is where your trunk clip area starts. So that's kind of what you're seeing here, the trunk clip area. This sits on top of it, okay. This piece under here is the continuous piece of the quarter panel. So what you'd have to do is peel this up, or you can cut it right here, drill the spot welds, cut the spot welds out, and then when you complete all the quarter panel work later and get this how you want it, then you can take a piece and fabricate it and weld it back in, stitch weld it here, and then plug weld it back. So that's one way to do it. There's the other way to do it is peel this up and try to do it. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this across here. It's a lot quicker, a lot easier, and it's a really simple piece to just make flat later, and we'll put it back in and meld it in, and it gets seam sealed really nice. All right, so another day, another Duster, and I've been working on this quarter panel, trying to get all the edges and the trimmings from the old quarter panel off, and except one little section, very, very bottom of the rocker panel, I have this one clear, and it's all completely off of the window channel. I've pretty much removed everything off the trunk gutter, the weather strip rail, that sort of thing, off the inside of this. And probably the worst part of it is removing it from the roof and getting it out from behind the drip rail without destroying the drip rail. It took me a couple hours last night. It's the first time I've done one of these in particular, so I was kind of feeling my way through it. I've talked about drilling, spot welds, stuff like that. This one, you have to do that. I don't care what anybody says. You have to be able to do that, because the quarter panel on these, I'm guessing at the factory they went on first and then the roof went down over top of it, because the quarter panel slips in behind the roof skin, and then you have a series of spot welds. Well, it's pretty much impossible to cut all of that out and get that piece of flange out from behind there and be able to put your new quarter panel in and have it fit right. So had to drill those out. Some of these was kind of booger welded in. I don't know if they had trouble on the line with it. So I cut a little section here and a section here. It's not going to hurt anything because this is the lead seam, and I did have to remove the lead. I'll show you that on the other side, how to do that safely. But I managed to get it all out and peel it from out behind this. You can see this moves a little bit. Like that. There's a spot weld right here on the face of this, kind of where your window would set up. And there's another one there. That one of them was actually not secured well, but the other one was. And what I was able to do was take a flat putty knife, and you can slide it all the way back in there, and that's how you know you're clear, because the quarter panel just wraps in and goes in about, I don't know, 1/2 of an inch, 5/8 of an inch, something like that. So if you're clear from up here all the way down, this moves out. Once you clear it from this spot weld here, then it should come out. The only thing I had to do is where it wrapped around, I had to kind of chisel that out with a real thin flathead screwdriver, and then the whole piece just kind of slid out. But this was definitely a little bit of a chore. This will have to get bent back flat, but this is where it recesses, and then your quarter panel will recess and then go in behind it, and then it gets filled with, you know, whatever your choice. If you go completely original, it'll be lead. You can do Duraglass, you know, the long hair fiberglass, or even some of the short hair. But we'll have to kind of reestablish some of the shape on right here and right here. This just really needs to be going down with. But we're going to get on the other side and get that ready, because we've pretty much got it trimmed out, and I'm talking about the whole car, to get ready for blast. So this will make it really good for blast. It'll be able to get all this stuff up in here. Obviously it won't get up and behind there, but we can use products from it later. But yeah, it'll get all this stuff. We have an old mice nest in here, which we need to get the remains of that out. There's some nutshells in there, and it actually, some of their inhabitants rotted out the backside panel. This piece here, a little section about yay big. So fun stuff like that has happened, and we'll have to get that cleaned up. You'll see the actual edge of the roof right here. This little dark edge wraps up there, kind of curves down there, curves up there. This is the bottom, or I should say this is the top of what's left of the quarter panel. Okay, it wraps in behind this part right here where it's recessed. The reason I use that lead is to fill that seam, because it makes it all look like one continuous area, the roof into the quarter panels. That's why they do that. It's a little bit more work, but it's more beautiful. Anyways, we've got spot weld here, 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 and there. If I drill those out and drill a couple out on the inside of this drip rail, this is a separate piece that holds it into the body here, that should allow what's left of this to slide out. Now that's very simplistic. It's not going to slide. It's going to fight out. I'll probably have to cut some spots, probably have to cut it down here a little bit. So I'm going to just basically start drilling these. You can start with a smaller drill if you just have regular drills, and then step up to some larger bits, because it'll then chew out the area that could still be holding something there. So you find the dimples there, you'll know they're spot welds. That's the most obvious one. They went a little high on it, so that's where one is there. And you just got to take your time and try to drill these out, get some nice sharp bits. Or if you have a good spot weld driller you like to use, well then by all means go for that. All right, so been continuing to bust away at this with these, you know, somewhat defective and somewhat workable, usable spot weld drills. And sometimes you got to take your putty knife, in this case, and clear the area. So if I drilled this spot weld here and this clears past everything, okay, we're good. Go to the next one, we're good. Next one. Let's wear a glove, just in case. You know how that is. Get it up in there. Oh, that clears it good there. That clears it good. These are loose here. Now a second ago, this one it only went about to right there. That told me there was still the edge of this hole holding on. Sometimes you'll drive this in there, whether it be by hand or even by this, or vice versa, I should say. The hand doesn't have as much power as that does, obviously. But if it sticks there, you have to kind of investigate and see if the metal here isn't tearing and it's holding on to that. So you'll have to come in at a different angle. You can use a bigger drill bit sometimes and it'll take that left that's holding it off. All right, so I've cleared all of this across here, and I have even cleared that one. I had to use a screwdriver since it's much narrower than that. And I checked, and we have cleared that hole as well. It's okay if you bend it out for the time being. Now, for this to loosen up a little bit, these have pretty good spot welds as opposed to the other side. One of them was really not holding, the other one was barely there. So I started to pilot holes in this. I probably need another battery for my drill because it is weak. I'll start in on it and it gets low energy after a little bit. So try to get that going, and we can chew through these two. That should allow this drip rail, which is one piece, it's welded in there, it's spot welded into the roof and the inner structure, to kind of just wobble out, wiggle it out there a little bit, and you should be able to pull this piece out. I have to make sure that we're cleared down here from this lower piece, because otherwise there's still spot welds hole and we need to cut that out of the way. So there's a lot of different three-dimensional type ways you have to think about how this is being held on if you're not familiar with it initially. And I was not terribly familiar with how this area was here. I knew how this was, but how it gets into here and how and what it's attached to is a little difficult. But if you do some investigation, you start understanding the engineering code of all this stuff, you'll see how that panel, without any breaks in it, wraps around and welds to something, and you know how to kind of break that free, and you can kind of just peel it away that way if you can't get many spot weld drills on. That one there, that's broken free. So this piece here behind the drip rail up to here looks like it's primarily free. If we can just get these two spot welds drilled here to hold it all together, then that should break that bond and this whole thing should come out, and we should be good to go for another panel fitment. Got the bulk of this flange out. This is the quarter panel. What's left of it is in behind the roof skin. I had it peeled out pretty good. There's just a little remnant here where the skin comes over in the weather strip, or I should say the glass channel, and that'll just be bend that up and peel this out. It'll fall out then. So this was here, and what that leaves is this piece behind here. I went ahead and did the spot weld drill like I talked about earlier, and then we'll take this flathead screwdriver, and you have to bend it out. It makes it kind of sick to do it, but if you're careful, you start down here, you bend it out a little bit. If you need a little bit more, you can go a little higher so you see the edge of it, okay? So you got to do your separations, make sure that you get clearance on both sides of that piece, because I went ahead and just cut down the side of it here. And then get this side of it, make sure you're clear there. You can look around, you just got to do some investigation. Clear it out there. Now, I had to trim some other pieces off because they was obstructing. They was just getting in the way of everything there. And I noticed some movement, so I think it can probably, one thing I did do was I was actually able to kind of get on top of the old flange in the hole here, and it drug it down a little bit. Might still actually be a pretty good method to go through. You can see it move down, continue. Put this flathead on here at an angle so that it gets a good bite on it. We're almost out. Good inch and 3/4 out. Well, there it is. So there it is. This is where the drip rail bumps up to. We'll leave that out there right now. I mean, you can bend it back if you want a little bit. But when you put your new quarter panel on, it'll just slip in right behind this. And then when you go to weld everything together, you'll have to clamp that back into it, and it'll return it back to its original spot, because this is all against the bracing. It'll all have to fit up against there. And yeah, so that pretty much leaves that good to go. I'll go ahead and trim this little edge out. And really all it is just a little lap from this part over top of what's left of the quarter panel. And it's got a spot weld there. You can drill it out and just lift this piece up, and then this piece will just fall out. Okay, so our last bit of removing all this quarter panel sheet metal is on this rocker section. This is the rocker that extends all the way through. All right, if you look here, it takes a dip down, or you could take a dip up, however you want to look at it, but it's recessed here and then proceeds to drop back down again. That's for drainage that might come out of anything, water that might deflect off of that apron up there through the window, and it puts it right back down here, dirt and stuff, and it allows it to drain out through these little areas here, like little drain spouts, okay, that are pressed into the metal. Obviously it filled up with dirt. There was a lot of crap in it, you know, from years. But the welding that takes place down here is more spot welds. Where these two sections drop, where this one comes down lower and this one comes down lower, that's where they run a series of spot welds. I don't know exactly how many. Like there's one right here. You can see right in the center of the screen. There's one there. There might be like a small series, maybe 4 or 3, something like that. I really need to investigate and see. But this makes it a little rough to break these loose. You have the flange back here, which still needs to come off. I just took it and ran my cutting wheel down through here, just metal thickness, so it doesn't cut up into this. And we can peel that off later like we have traditionally on this car. But this area here, there's a lot of swelled up, crusty, thick rust right there, and it doesn't look like it's gotten into the rocker panel, like as far as eating a hole in it yet. We'll find out. And then obviously here's some more lead that needs to be broken away to release the panel, so you got spot welds there. So it's really spot weld heavy area, and obviously this is the edge of it, of the panel. So you just kind of work off of that, work off of this one here. A lot of times if you can't just get it out by chiseling it or anything without tearing everything up, just try to cut away as much as you can and then grind it down. Buff it down with a buffing wheel if you need to. Just be cognizant of where you are as far as not too deep into this metal. You just really want to take the weld off, because that's all it really boils down to, is just a small weld, and you want to get that nub of it off and get the lamination of the metal that you're taking off, because when you start cutting it really thin or working it thin, it turns into like paper thin. Well, you want to remove that, and then you should be good. But I'm going to probably work a little bit more on this, try to get it cleaned up. And you'd look like this too if you've been doing all this. It smells like grinder metal in here, which is fine. But let me show you what we just finished. It spent probably the last 45 minutes doing. Yep, right down under here. Look at all this mess. The rocker panel. We're cleared off now. Again, here's that spot where it dips down. They have a couple welds along there. There's this open area where it lifts up and it drops back down again here. This area was pretty crusty. You can see the deterioration in the metal, the pitting, the really heavy pitting, and then the ultimate hole right there. So what I'm gonna have to do is cut this out a little bit into this bend, I would say, and make like a big rectangle piece. And we'll just cut this out and graft it in, stitch weld it, smooth it down, hopefully as if it was never there. And that's that. We're trimmed out for the quarter panels, and basically we're trimmed out for blasting. It's exciting, isn't it? I almost feel like test fitting that quarter panel, but I got something else to do, and I'm getting hungry, and it's getting late, and I just want to go sit down. And I guess that's the last part of our teardown on the Duster. I hope you enjoyed this series, even with its little spin-off of floor pan removal. I don't know why I did it that way, but until next time, what we're going to do is we're going to build some sort of a dolly system for here. I've got all kinds of metal and some other improvisation things outside. We're going to build it. We need to get it up. It's to the preference of the dustless blaster. Get it high as you can. And we're going to work with that, see if we can build something. We're going to get some gas for our welder, so that'll be exciting and that'll be fun. That'll be something new to learn, because I'm learning my way through it too. So until next time, thanks.